Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21 12670. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And we welcome you into Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Mario Jerez and Taylor Sharp. Thank you for being with us today. Scott Rabalais with us here in about 15 minutes. Bottom of the hour, we'll do first class, second class, and no class. And I want to remind you, tomorrow night we will be at BRQ for our red, white, and blue at BRQ, which is a cocktail contest in Cochon de Lay for our military veterans. We're pairing them with local bartenders to create some specialty cocktails, and we're having a Cochon de Lay. All of the money's going to the Acadiana Veterans Alliance, their HEAL program, helping veterans deal with re-entry and specifically with PTSD. So you can get your tickets at Eventbrite. We'll be there tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock for Red, White, and Blue at BRQ on Jefferson Highway. Let's get to the news of the day, and I think what's been on everybody's mind as far as LSU-Arkansas, at least what's been on my mind, with LSU and Arkansas, more than anything else in this game, more than the potential of a letdown, more than the morning game, more than the weather, any of those things has been the health of KJ Jefferson. So Sam Pittman, Arkansas head coach, had a chance to update us on this just under an hour ago.
That's still, a few days away. KJ threw some on Monday. Not much at all yesterday. I don't know exactly, Tom, what he'll do today, but that's still kind of a fluid situation. But there hasn't been a whole lot of change from last week to this week, except for KJ's thrown a little bit more than what he did last week.
So KJ Jefferson really didn't practice much at all last week, but he played in the game this past weekend. If he's doing a little bit more by Pittman's estimation than he was doing last week, and he played last week, well, then could you expect him to play this week? This is one of those deals where I don't know how KJ Jefferson feels. I don't know how I don't know how he feels today. I don't know how he felt yesterday, and I certainly don't know how he's going to feel on Saturday. I can tell you that there have been multiple instances, including one with Arkansas this year, where KJ Jefferson has gone to the game, warmed up, and not played, dressed and not played. That's happened quite a few. That happened with Oklahoma State last week. So you don't know. When they say game time decision, sometimes they know, and sometimes they're actually going out there with a chance maybe to play. Now, if KJ Jefferson is not available to go, then what?
Malik Hornsby's had a really good week of practice. The team's confident in him. And so either way, whatever happens, whether we play KJ or whether we play Malik, we'll feel like we'll have a guy that can go back there, the team believes in, and execute our game plan.
No. Look, that's what he's supposed to say. I'm not criticizing Sam Pittman at all. That's what he's got to tell us. That's what he's got to tell his team. He may go home and tell, if he's got a Cocker Spaniel, hey, look, we're going to be fine without KJ Jefferson. We're going to run Malik Hornsby out there. But the truth of the matter is that Malik Hornsby has thrown 17 passes this year, and KJ Jefferson is the heart and soul of the Arkansas offense. He's thrown for almost 2,000 yards. He's thrown 17 touchdown passes against only 3 interceptions, and he's run for 425 yards, and 6 more touchdowns, and that's after you take out the sack yardage, which is significant. So in every way, KJ Jefferson is the straw that turns the drink for Arkansas, and if they don't have him, or if he is limited in any way, it's going to be a big, big deal. So that's nothing against Malik Hornsby, but Hornsby's thrown 17 passes and 2 of them were intercepted. Jefferson's thrown 222 passes and 3 of them were intercepted. You see what I'm getting at here? Hornsby had that one long run of 50 yards. I'm forgetting against who, but He's not the runner that K.J. Jefferson is. K.J. Jefferson is the guy for Arkansas when it comes to their offense. And that's the update. Frankly, I don't expect to hear much more on this that gives us an indication between now and Saturday. The one thing I can tell you to watch as far as Jefferson's availability is the point spread. If you see a jump in the point spread, you saw a jump in the point spread last week with Texas A&M when it came out that, everybody had the flu, including the freshman quarterback. Well, the spread moved a little bit. If you see this spread jump, in LSU's favor more than a point or two, then you'll know something's up, and some of the information is leaked out with Jefferson. If it holds there, then the possibility of him playing holds there as well. Sam Pittman also talked about what he saw from LSU against Alabama.
Daniels, he handled the game plan. He was efficient, made people miss, made big plays. I thought him and the offensive line were the difference in that game, offensively, defensively. I really like their front. Their front four is really good, I think. And obviously Brooks and Joe are playing well in the back end as well. But I like their ability to rush the passer, their ability to stop the run with their two, what I think are outstanding D tackles, and their linebackers can really run. Harold Perkins is going to be a highly, highly drafted kid. He's a really good player.
Wouldn't you like to watch a game with Sam Pittman? I'd like to watch a game with Sam Pittman. We're going to grab a beer. We're going to watch the game. Sam Pittman's everyman. I mean, if I was a player, I'd like to play for Sam Pittman. He just seems like a good dude and a football lifer. You sit down and, he could dissect X's and O's and do all that stuff, or he could just sit down and go, man, that guy's a pretty good football player. He fits the Arkansas accent and everything. Sam Pittman's everyman. I mean, he's great. I love Sam Pittman. If I could sit down and watch a game with Sam Pittman, I think that would be a really enjoyable experience. Brian Kelly's number one problem this week is handling success, and the head coach talked about that.
With the success that we've had, we've entered into a new part of how we think, and our team needs to now handle success, and that means preparing the right way, avoiding distractions, and really working on what they've been good at, and that is day-to-day. Certainly preparation, their practice, being better at all the details, and so we hope to continue that as we get ready for another great offense in Arkansas.
It's said every time that this goes on, but it's really a lot harder in practice to block out the outside factors when you're doing well and you're doing bad. If you're doing bad and everybody that you see tells you stink, at some point you go, man, I want to get away from that. I can block out that noise at some point. Somebody just tells you absolutely every day you're horrible. Well, it's easy to, but when everybody's telling you how good you are, well, you want to hear more of that. Yeah, it's easy to fall into that. You can say all the right things and still fall into the trap. That's why handling success is so difficult. It's why it's difficult for teams to repeat as champions. It's why it's difficult to go on long winning streaks, because handling success is tough. Hey, that guy that Sam Pittman was talking about, that Harold Perkins kid, the one he thinks is going to be really highly drafted, and you know what? I think he's right. Well, we've gone from a few weeks ago, Perkins wasn't on the field because, some of the personnel groupings and the position, no, find him a way to get on the field. Now we've gotten to the point where Kelly's talking about expanding his role.
So the process was that, he came in as an inside linebacker, and I think we identified early on that, that was going to take longer for us to get him into the rotation on the field. So we moved him to an outside linebacker position, which we felt like was an easier fit for him to pick up what we wanted, because we could put him into different packages, third down packages, nickel packages, dime packages. And then as it evolved to the point where he was making plays and being productive, we had to get to the point where we had base defenses with him on the field. So this was about giving him as much as he could handle and then getting the best 11 players.
Reminded of a story that Jerry Stovall used to tell about the 1982 season. He said they came out of the first couple of practices, and LSU had recruited a kid out of New Orleans named Gary James, who was very, very highly recruited running back. And they'd recruited a kid out of Patterson who was not very highly recruited at all named Dalton Hilliard. And his assistant coaches went to him and said, hey, here's the thing. The Hilliard kid is the best one we got. He came in here, he was like sixth string. I don't care. He's the best one. Needs to get out there. And Dalton Hilliard went on to become one of the greatest running backs that LSU had to that point and still. And Gary James, by the way, also went on to have the Dalton and James game. It was fantastic. Perkins didn't come in here lightly recruited. He didn't come in here seventh string. But the same idea applies. You got off the practice field, it's like, man, we got to get this cat in the game. Whatever it is we got to do. Well, we were planning on playing him out here, and we can't put him in there yet. Well, then put him somewhere else because he's got to be on the field. So we've gotten to the point now where it's like, what can we do? What else can we do with? I mean, Sean Payton got Taysom Hill. It's like, man, what can we do with this guy? We can do all kinds of stuff with this guy. Imagine Matt House is in the film room going, what can I do with 40 now? Because he can do all kinds of stuff. Finally, Arkansas lost to Liberty last weekend. Kelly talked about how Liberty slowed Arkansas down.
I think, Liberty obviously is a well-coached football team. I think Arkansas just didn't execute as well as they have executed in weeks past. So I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was Liberty, playing well and playing aggressively. I thought that they crowded the line of scrimmage and maybe took advantage of some things that, by playing aggressively at the line of scrimmage that made it difficult to run the football. And then I think Arkansas, obviously didn't have their best game. And so I think it was a little bit of both.
Notice Kelly throwing the bouquet to Hugh Freeze before he's got to play him in the SEC West next year. I didn't say that out loud, did I? Hugh Freeze wouldn't be back in the SEC next year by any chance, right? Really well coached. They are. The other thing that happened last night, college football playoff rankings. LSU was right about where we thought they would be, falling in at number 7. There was some debate about the TCU, Tennessee, Oregon. TCU is 4, Tennessee is 5, Oregon is 6. The podcast is posted for today. I went through a complete breakdown of the football playoff rankings, what Vegas thinks of this as opposed to what the College Football Committee thinks of this, and believe me, they're drastically different. And the games this weekend, they're going to have the most impact on the college football playoff poll. And I'm not going to spend a gargantuan amount of time on this because there's just too many things that have to happen from now until then there's hypothetical on top of hypothetical where LSU is concerned. But a week ago, I never thought we'd be talking about LSU in the college football playoff poll at all. So we do need to address this. And the idea floated out there by Reese Davis, disputed by Joey Galloway and Kirk Herbstreit, is that an LSU conference champion would not hop over a one-loss Tennessee team.
Yeah, let me say this. I don't agree with that. If LSU goes on, runs their schedule, and beats Georgia, I think that I don't know that anybody's staying in front of them. I think they've earned it at that point.
It would be interesting to see, because when you get a cluster of teams, they look at head-to-head, they look at conference championship, and there's no necessarily metric that weighs more than the other. So you wonder, Reese and Greg, in the case of LSU, I know what you're saying about history and 2 losses, but if you're LSU, now who knows what they're going to do? They could lose Saturday at Arkansas. They still have to go to A&M. Those aren't easy games for them when they have a bullseye on their chest. But if they were to win out and then win an SEC championship game against Georgia, my gosh, I mean, even with those 2 losses, that it's at least an interesting discussion as the SEC champion. I don't think you just kind of throw that to the side and say, well, Tennessee's had, they beat them head to head and Georgia's Georgia. I mean, that's still, that's a lot of weight for them to win out and win in Atlanta. To me.
Not totally buying this not play anybody thing, though, because it's different when you get beat by 46 or when you get beat by 4 touchdowns like LSU did against Tennessee. That has to matter, too.
So there's a little bit of precedent here. Not perfect precedent, but there is some. You go back to 2017 when Auburn had beaten Alabama, and they were a 2-loss team at the end of the regular season. They were going to the SEC championship game to play Georgia, who they had beaten less than a month before. The final playoff rankings before the championship games that weekend, Auburn was number 2. Auburn was 10-2, but they had beaten Alabama and Georgia in November. Saved Gus's job, got him the big contract extension. They were ahead of all kinds of teams with one loss, and they were ahead of one team with no losses. They were ahead, and not an outlier. They were ahead of Wisconsin. All right, Wisconsin finished the 2017 season, regular season, 12-0. They were ahead of them. They were ahead of 11-1 Oklahoma. They were ahead of 11-1 Alabama because they had just tied that loss. They were ahead of 11-1 Georgia because they had just dealt Georgia that loss. Now, would it happen exactly that way again? Like I said, it's not a perfect comparison, but the idea that a 2-loss team has never been in contention for the playoff is not exactly, none has ever gotten there. And Auburn's losses that year, one of them was to an unranked team. They had lost to Clemson earlier in the year, and it was a one-score game. It was a 14-6 game. The other game they lost to an unranked team. Do you remember who it was? It was to LSU. Okay, this was the 2017 where LSU was sort of all over the map, and LSU got them in Tiger Stadium, 27-23. Mario, you remember that game?
Yes, they technically have a transitive loss to Troy, if you want to put it in those terms.
Okay, did you call that game?
I did.
Okay, because you perked up there like, yeah, I remember that game. That's one of the games you called in Spanish, and LSU beat them. So it's not like there's no precedent for a two-loss team very late in the season to climb over teams from big conferences, the Big 10, the Big 12, that had fewer losses. And in the case of Wisconsin, 2 fewer losses out of the an undefeated Big 10. They didn't end up winning the championship, but an undefeated Big 10 team at the end of the regular season was behind a 2-loss SEC team because Auburn had these 2 monster wins. Now, again, it's not a perfect comparison. The Alabama team that LSU just beat already had a loss. Ole Miss, that's a really good win right now. Is that win going to hold up? To get Auburn to that point in 2017, their wins had to be over teams that Auburn was their only loss, and there were 2 of them, Alabama and Georgia. So, again, I wanted to touch on that, wanted to play the clip. Could LSU hop Tennessee if they win the championship? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know. The committee changes every year. So the committee in 17, the committee in 22 may have different outlooks on this. I think Oregon also can hop Tennessee because Tennessee, think of Tennessee as a golfer that is in the clubhouse with a certain score, all right? And you may even have the lead, but the teams behind you, the golfers behind you can come in and make birdies and catch you. And that's what Tennessee strikes me as. If they get to 11-1, and they should, they don't play anybody of any real substance the rest of the way, then they can put 11-1, and they'd be the leader in the clubhouse as far as getting in. But if Oregon could win a conference championship, they hop them, okay? If LSU wins a conference championship, they could hop them. And that's before you even get to a Big 12. Assume right now that a Big 12 champion with 1 loss is going to have an argument against Tennessee. Right now, you're not taking it into consideration because TCU doesn't have a loss yet, and they're already ahead of them. I think TCU is probably going to lose a game at some point in these next 3. They're a 7-point underdog at Texas this week. But right now, they're ahead of them. So, said my piece on the college football playoff. You want more? There's plenty more in the podcast today. It's posted 1045ESPN.com and wherever you get your podcast. We're overdue for a break. Scott Rabalais when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
We're getting closer to the holidays, and if your dishes for Thanksgiving and the events surrounding it include rice, make it supreme rice. Man, I love a good rice dressing around Thanksgiving. Make it with Supreme Rice. Support our Louisiana farmers down in Crowley, Louisiana since the 1930s. 30s. You know, all of our Supreme rice is grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. So whether it be for your etouffees, your stews, red beans and rice, your gumbos, anything that you're making with rice, make it with Supreme rice. You're going to stretch your food dollar. You're going to love the product, whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine. Supreme rice has been delighting their customers for, going on 90 years now. For more information and great recipes, some unique stuff, go to their website at supremerice.com.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
As a community bank, B1 Bank invests in relationships with the people and businesses we proudly represent. Our B1 bankers are here to help simplify the complicated, understand your needs, and make managing your finances easier. At B1 Bank, we offer an array of solutions to help simplify your transaction needs. B1 Bank, one highly personal banking experience. Visit us online at b1bank.com for more information.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR. Russ Mitchell returns. I guess 10 is the new 4. It's AFR. Join us from 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And always get the show on demand, 104.5 ESPN.com. We bring in Scott Rabalais for us, joining us, the advocate covering LSU. Rab, how you doing?
Charles, I've got my new phone.
Fantastic.
I'm hopefully better connected to you and coming to you digitally from my side porch.
No, that's it's good to hear, and it sounds fantastic. You've covered a lot of games in that stadium. I've been asked plenty of times since the weekend, so I'll ask you, where does that one rank? The one you saw this past Saturday?
Michelle, I guess it would make for better radio if you and I disagreed more often. But I'm not Jimmy Ott. I'm Scott Rabalais, and we do agree a lot. I've been thinking about it and going to games in Tiger Stadium since the late '70s that I can remember. And there's been a lot of dramatic games, but I think when you take everything into consideration, who the opponent was, where the program has been, first-year coach, where this team has been earlier this year, the dramatic way they won, I can't think of a more dramatic, thrilling game in Tiger Stadium that I've ever seen. I mean, they're not up there. I was at the earthquake game. I was at the Auburn game in 1980 when they were taking timeouts away because the student section was being too loud. Auburn was trying to run a play in the north end zone. I was there for the last second play against Auburn, the touchdown, the Florida game in 2007 probably comes the closest to me, But I think this was just, when you take all the factors into it, it was just as dramatic as could be, and it has to go right at the top.
So we'll spend some time, in a few weeks when the regular season's over, talking big picture. Let's talk what's in the immediacy now. We've seen enough times where a big win has been followed up with a letdown. I mean, that's not just common LSU. It's common all over the place. So you've seen Arkansas enough. We heard from Sam Pittman about an hour ago. KJ Jefferson is, I would call him questionable if I had to put a word on it right now.
Right.
How do you feel about this game?
It's always a tough one. I mean, it's late November in Arkansas. You can't. The weather is usually bad. I think it's good. I think it's good that it's a day game. Sometimes it's very gloomy. It's going to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be cold, which is not unusual for Brian Kelly, having coached at Notre Dame, but it is probably unusual for a lot of players. Though he made a point of saying at his Monday news conference that they practice outdoors a lot in the early part of the year. But it always just seems to come at a bad time. It's hard to make people think of Arkansas as being a team that you have to really gear up for. It's not Alabama, it's not Florida, it's not Auburn, it's not even Ole Miss, which I think is a game that still carries a lot in terms of rivalry and stuff like that. It's tough, and LSU has been in this spot before, losing the game after winning the big game. Losing to Ole Miss after beating Florida when they were number one in 1997, losing to Kentucky on the road. I think that's one that comes to mind closest to me. Losing after beating Florida in that dramatic game in 2007 with all the fourth down conversions, losing at Kentucky in triple overtime the next week. And Kentucky is a similar team to Arkansas in my mind. That they're a tough out, but it's hard to make people think it's really a tough thing to do to go there. And I think this is similar. So it's a tough spot. That said, I do think this particular team has done a good job of taking care of their business and being focused, and I think that focus has only grown. And I think they will give a good accounting of themselves in Fayetteville. I think they're probably, from what we've seen, lately, they're less susceptible to that big letdown than we would have seen maybe from other teams. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout for LSU. I think they're going to have to go and earn it.
You bring up a point about Arkansas, and I got a question on Twitter. I think it was Monday. It says, how many times has Arkansas wrecked an LSU season? Too many. And I thought, that's BS. I said, man, they haven't gotten them that many times. And then I went back and looked at it, and I was like, you know what? They've been a pain more than I thought. So these are the ones I came up with where Arkansas really threw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. A lot of people are going to forget this, but in 1993, LSU was trying to have their first winning season in 5 years and go to a bowl game, and they were going to go to the CarQuest Bowl, okay? That was down in Miami, and I think they were going to play Penn State. And they had all of these keychains. They were trying to simulate the Orange games. Like, hey, we're going to get these keychains. We're going to throw the CarQuest, which was a whatever, company. All these keychains. We're going to throw the keychains on the field. LSU's going to a bowl game for the first time since 1988. And Arkansas ran for about 600 yards that day. It was a
100-yard rushers.
Yeah. Danny Ford was the coach, right? Mm-hmm. And they were running the option, and LSU got beat by 3 touchdowns. Okay, so it kept them out of a bowl in '93. The CarQuest Bowl. Trust me when I tell you, if you weren't here, you weren't born, you weren't whatever. CarQuest Bowl in 1993 was the biggest thing talked about in November 1993 in Baton Rouge, and I know you remember that. 2002, the Miracle on Markham. Okay, I've actually got the phone out. All right, so maybe this is on me. I've got the phone out I'm on the phone with Gordy going, do you want me to make a reservation for the SEC championship game? Okay, because we gotta get this other thing out right about the time that the miracle on Markham happened. And in 2007, you just talked about the McFadden-Jones team was great. And then in 2010, LSU lost up there, and LSU was a top 10 team. So it ended up being more than I thought that LSU holds a 19-11 edge in the rivalry since Arkansas joined the league. But it's been more than I thought that Arkansas has been a pain in the neck.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly, 2002 is probably the biggest one because it cost LSU a shot to return to the SEC championship game. This is after the Bluegrass Miracle, and they lost to Alabama the next week, and then they survived and got to that point where they would have played, and it kind of like was karma evening the playing field. Okay, LSU, you did this to Kentucky, but Arkansas is going to do this to you, and 50-yard pass, and then a 32-yard pass to Corey Birmingham in the end zone, the Markham Street Miracle. And then, of course, in 2007, it did end up not being fatal to LSU that they lost the game to.
But, boy, they thought it did that day.
Oh,
I know I did.
I certainly did. Yeah, they dropped to 7th in the rankings, and, it took a lot for them to get back there. So, yeah, but, again, we have to couch it in. Everybody's talking now about LSU as being a dark horse team for the college football playoff, and I think they are at this point if they could win out. They don't have to win out necessarily to win the SEC West. They could win one of these last two against Arkansas and A&M, and then of course they would need Ole Miss to lose to Bama or State, and then LSU would still go based on holding the tiebreaker. So it's not all would be lost if they were to lose this game, but it's still mighty important, and it keeps all your goals in front of you.
You think they're piling on Saban a little bit this week? Hear me out, okay? And it's not like me to take up.
I'm supposed to care,
right? Exactly. Look, all of the programs in decline. I'm stop with that. But and look, they hate his coordinators over there. That's fine. Their problem. But I just had to stop and think. They're beating him up over these 2-point conversions like everybody knew how this was going to turn out. So it's 12:37 to go when they scored a touchdown to go up 15-14. Tell me that everybody's not going crazy if he doesn't go for two at that point. It's not like this was one of those 53-48 games at that point. The score's 15-14. LSU scored 2 touchdowns. There's no guarantee they're going to score another one. Going for 2 and putting it on a field goal, to me, is the right play there. And since it didn't turn out that way and it went to overtime, he's getting beat from pillar to post on this thing. At 14-9 starting the fourth quarter, the odds of overtime are probably less than 2% because the score's so odd. The other one, I guess, is a little bit debatable when they're up 4 and the difference between 5 and 6, but they're beating the heck out of the guy over going for 2 when the score's 15-14 with 12.5 minutes to go. And I'm like, man, I thought he played it right.
I wrote about this in Monday's game. If he had kicked and they'd made them, then Reichert is kicking for the win at the end of if he makes it, they win 26-24. So if you back it out in hindsight, it looks like he made a mistake. It seems like I think a lot of coaches might not have chased the points so early, but more and more. But in Nick's defense, and I hate to put those two words together in a sentence, really, more and more coaches are going for analytics and stuff like that. We see it in all sports. We're seeing it in baseball with the LSU baseball team with the new regime. And I think I think more people, even the Nick Sabans, are beholden to it. Brian Kelly went with the chart, the analytics against Florida State, and it bit him. And then this time he went with his gut and he won. And I think that's part of the issue for Saban. Yeah, here you have a guy going by the chart and logic and hey, it's what it says on the laminated piece of paper. And here's Brian Kelly at the end of the game going, I want to decide this now. I trust in my team. I do this. And I think Brian Kelly, he still wins even if the pass is incomplete to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? He still wins with the LSU fan base and a lot of observers for having the guts to go for it there. And I think that's part of the reason that Nick is getting so much criticism. But it was kind of early to chase the points on the first one. Then you have to go for the second one because you've already gone for the first one. And so it kind of snowballs on you.
I think it's convenient, Scott, to have that opinion now because at the time, okay, this was a 14-9 game when they scored. It's not like they were going up and down the field. So the difference between 2 and 3 with 12 minutes to go in a 15-14 game, to me, is significant, all right? If he does this in the second quarter, then no, okay? Then you're chasing points. It's 12 and a half minutes to go in what at that point was a low-scoring game. And then everybody can get after the game and go, well, it was 32-31. I mean, my gosh, it was a high-scoring game. It wasn't at that time. And I'm sorry, I thought he made the right call. Now, and they made fun of him about the chart. And the chart still works, okay? The chart's about math. The chart's not about feel. And at the end of the game, when you're down 1 point and there's no time left on the clock because you're in overtime, then that's about feel. Then you throw the laminated chart to the side. But with 12 minutes to go, look, you can beat Saban up for a lot of things. I mean, I got a legal pad full of things here I could write down to beat Saban up about. Going for 2 ain't one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's the end of the game where you kind of have to make the decisions, and I don't know. The chart at that point of the game is to kick is probably to go for 2. I understand, but by the way, it's like every year with the Ole Miss game. I watched the video of the Billy Cannon run every year before the Alabama game. I listen to your Alabama rant.
Oh, it's nice.
It's part of the week for me.
Well, I appreciate that. And I tried to find something that we disagree on. So we disagree on the 2-point deal, and yet we can still be friends, and we can still do a radio segment together. We don't have to agree on everything. We lost his phone.
No,
I thought he lost his phone.
No, I'm here. It makes for better radio if there's some disagreement.
I'm not manufacturing it, Scott. I generally that's not where I would beat Saban up. But hey,
but I will say this about, if I can quickly, about the Alabama dynasty dead or something like that. I think Nick's way of coaching is under assault and is becoming, sort of obsolete. And I think back to the time when the brief time he was with the Dolphins, he made an offensive lineman cry on the practice field. He gave such a hard time, and I don't think you can. I think the coaches who are and Brian Kelly just turned 61, Kim Mulkey just turned 60. They've had to you adapt or die, and I think Skip Bertman adapted from the small ball to the gorilla ball. You got to see, and Nick has done a very good job of that. But it's the way he, with the style, but the way he coaches, the way he deals with players, and how you have to deal with them a little more kid glove-ish. You create a phrase there. That might be a problem.
I'll tell you, nobody adapts better than him. But yeah, there are going to have to be some things that he does. But man, look, I ain't counting that guy. I've been fooled before. I've been had this presented to me before. When the day he retires and says I'm never going to coach again, I say okay, then that guy's done. Until then, very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. But he lost this week. Scott, appreciate it. As always, have a safe trip to Fayetteville, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Charles. Take care.
Take a break. First class, second class, no class. When we return, is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
All the business owners that I talk to these days are having problems with staffing. It takes up an enormous amount of your time between interviews and background checks, your payroll expenses. Be terrific if somebody could take care of a lot of this for you, a lot of the legwork. Tiger Labor and Staffing will help you with this. They'll take care of your screening, your training, your payroll, all of your employment expenses so that you can get back to work. The no-show interviews are going to be somebody else's problem. They'll handle the interview process and the onboarding, which is sometimes even more time-consuming. If you need somebody for a day, a week, or a month, you can control your labor costs and increase your flexibility a lot easier through Tiger Labor and Staffing. And if it's for the holiday season, some temporary employees just during your busy seasons, they help you with that as well. Tiger Labor and Staffing, welcoming skilled and unskilled labor. They'll match you with a job that fits and quick turnarounds on pay. So get your work done without the worries. Tiger Labor and Staffing. Success begins with the eye of the tiger. Go to tigerlabor.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only...
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for Game Time, live from Snow's Seafood and Steak, Airline Highway at Highway 74 in Gonzales. 6 to 8 p.m. Wednesday, got a bunch of guests giving out picks. Game Time on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hanagriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. There was no reason for me to try to get cute with first class for this week. I spent some time thinking about it, and I said it on the podcast on Monday. I don't think you can do any better than this game. For all of the components that were in it, it was the best one. Now I obviously wasn't there for Cannon's run. I wasn't there for Jones to Davis. But I wasn't there at 79 at USC, which ended up being a loss. But many people will still tell you it's the loudest that Tiger Stadium has ever been, even significantly less than the capacity that they have now. I was there at the Orange game. It was an atmosphere that I'll never be able to duplicate. It was my first LSU game. It put them in the Orange Bowl, which was a huge deal. But LSU blew Florida State out that night. I mean, they won the game by 30 points. So, yes, it had a lot of significance, but it was not a close game. The earthquake game was there for that one, too. I was a senior in high school. Was a terrific ending, and certainly a significant game because LSU won the SEC that year. But it was a lousy game. I mean, up until the last 2 minutes, it was a punt fest. It was not that good defense can't be exciting. Certainly the 11 game in Tuscaloosa was an exciting game even without a lot of points. But I was at the Bring Back the Magic game. That was significant for a different reason. The 2007 Florida game was right there at the top of the list. The 2007 Auburn game was just as good, to be honest with you, with the 1 second to go, Flynn to Bird. But you hadn't beat as iconic an opponent as Florida and Tebow, and they were the defending champs and all of that stuff. This had everything. It had great defense for 3/4 of the game. It had an offensive explosion at the end. It had an ending that is storybook. The opponent was significant, the most significant opponent that you could play. Georgia might be ranked ahead of LSU, but it means more to beat Alabama. I'm sorry, it just does. And it now it catapults you to a level in this season that realistic people would have never thought was possible. So first class, that game, I can't do any better than that. Second class goes to LSU women's basketball. The men's basketball team starting tonight. Get a chance to watch them for the first time. I know probably less about this LSU men's basketball team than any I have ever covered, so I'm anxious to see them get started and see what kind of hand that we've been dealt here. But the LSU ladies scored 125 points against Bellarmine the other night. 125 points. This is hard to score in a 5-on-0 inter-squad scrimmage where the other team stays in the locker room. 125 points in a college basketball game. Just got the email over during the break that Kim Mulkey signed the #1 class in the country. So there's a lot of things to like about women's basketball, but 125 points, good with a chance to be great. Yeah, that's it. And my no class, I've been this one got me on Saturday because I still can't believe it. What's one of my pet peeves here these days is contract extensions for no reason. Okay. Contract extension when guys are doing just a so-so job. Contract extensions when there's nobody coming after them. Contract extensions when you're going to lose this coach to a bigger program anyway. Contract extensions that are going to put you in hock with buyouts. Contract extensions because, they don't even – I'll give them credit. Since Jimmy Sexton took over the agenting world, they don't even use the old BS excuse, which was we needed to recruit, which was one of the biggest lies ever told, okay? You want to talk about biggest lies that were perpetrated over decades and decades in college football. And they said them so often that they believed them. Recruiting. Let's tell you, things are important in recruiting. The contract of the coach and neutral site games. We need these things to recruit. You don't. Never did. Covered recruiting for 3 decades. Not one time did I have a coach, a parent, a player say, you know what really swung it for me was the contract. What really swung it for me was that neutral site game in Dallas. It is a lie. It is a old wives' tale, okay? And then we get Eli Drinkwitz. For some reason, somebody woke up this weekend and said, we better get Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri a contract extension, okay? The contract runs through 2027. This is a $2 million bump next year from what he was scheduled to make. Overall, the entire contract is a 50% raise for a guy who has a 500 record and barely at that. Actually, he's below 500. He's 15-17. He's 10-14 in the conference. Where's he going? Why is it necessary to put gobs of money right at this second? Is Eli Drinkwitz closer to winning a championship or getting fired? You don't have to answer. I'll answer for you. He's closer to getting fired than he is to winning a championship. I would lay you -5. I'd lay you 50-1 that Eli Drinkwitz gets fired before he wins a championship at Missouri. Any championship. Eastern Division, SEC, certainly a national closer to getting fired. And somebody at Missouri said, man, we better give this guy a raise. And that same person is going to have to go to whoever it is that they get money from when they eventually fire him, because they will, and say, man, we need some more money. We got to buy Eli out. We got to get You extend contracts for guys that are in demand. You extend with the hope that you can keep them. You extend guys that do great jobs. Now you're just extending them, just extending it. OPM, other people's money. Real good at spending it in college football. No class. He's doing his job well less than 50% of the time. Are they going to pay me the same thing if halfway through the show I just leave? That's it. At the 30-minute mark, I'm done. Out. Halfway through the pregame. Hour and a half in. Done. What if I leave for the UA? I'm going to try it out. I got it. For the UAB game, I'm not staying till 3 in the morning, which is what I'm scheduled to. I'm going to stay till 2 o'clock in the morning because I will be tired doing the UAB post game at 2 a.m. Think Gordy's going to give me a raise? Probably not. Anytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Anytime.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. Continue to buy my vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. And so many great, benefits that go along with the certified pre-owned program. A 6-year unlimited mileage warranty, complimentary first-year basic maintenance, a free 3-month trial subscription to satellite radio, emergency roadside assistance, which is fantastic if you've got older drivers or younger drivers, complimentary service courtesy vehicle for when your vehicle needs maintenance. You don't have to arrange for transportation. You don't have to sit and wait for it. Transparency in pricing, and they're going to treat you like family. That's why time and time again I'm going back and bought my vehicles at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty.
First round of the Prep Football Playoffs, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Then join us at 10 p.m. for the Lake Urgent Care Total Occupational Medicine Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There's a question in the chat about what would happen with this from Champ about an 11-1 Ole Miss and what that would do. It would certainly make it interesting, and it would be an 11-1. We're talking about them at 11-1, not going to the SEC championship game. Them against Tennessee, and it's close. Both of them would have a win over Alabama and another win against Kentucky, which would be your next best win. Both of them would have a loss at LSU. So then you would go I think it would be Ole Miss against Tennessee, who would be ranked higher. I would give Tennessee a slight edge with the non-conference schedule. Slight edge, not a lot. That would be an interesting wrench to throw into the deal if Ole Miss managed to get to 11-1. Thanks to everybody for participating today. For Mario and Taylor, I'm Charles Hannegriff saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs. Here comes the weekend lineup. Tomorrow night, they're doing karaoke. On Friday night, Clifton Brown. And on Saturday, Petty Betty with your live music lineup. This is the first week of the playoffs. So if you're out and about for high school football anywhere in the area, Big Mike's is open late on Friday nights. It's family friendly after the games, so you can bring your family in for a meal after high school football. Great atmosphere on Saturday for the college games, and on Sunday, Saints and the Steelers. Listen, they're going to extend the happy hour drink prices all day Sunday for Saints and the Steelers. Great daily lunch specials and a wonderful atmosphere. They are in the heart, the fabric of Denham Springs. It is Big Mike's. At Big Mike's, where you're going to extend my contract, man. I'm doing such a good deal. Good job at Big Mike's. We're kind of a big deal.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at